Sometimes love means letting go, and that's okay. See, we live in a world where people believe that holding on is proof of love. We think that the longer we stay, the deeper we care. But truth is, sometimes the strongest kind of love, the most mature kind of love, is the one that knows when to walk away. Because love is not about possession, love is about peace. And if that peace is gone, no matter how much you hold on, you're only holding on to pain. There are moments in life when God removes someone from your path, not to punish you, but to protect you. But because our hearts are stubborn, we fight that removal. We pray for things that were never meant to last. We cry over doors that were never meant to open again. Yet, what we fail to see is that letting go isn't losing. Letting go is trusting. Trusting that if it was truly meant for you, it would have stayed. Trusting that love doesn't always come wrapped in forever. It sometimes comes to teach you, to grow you, to prepare you for the one that's actually meant to stay. Sometimes you gotta let go of what you thought you wanted to make space for what you truly deserve. Because the wrong person will drain you while convincing you it's love. They'll keep you chasing their potential instead of living in your peace. And when you finally have the courage to walk away, you'll realize you weren't losing love. You were losing confusion. You were losing the weight of trying to fix someone who was never ready to be fixed. Love should feel safe. It should feel like home, not like a battlefield. When you love someone deeply, it's natural to want to hold on. But if holding on means losing yourself, that's not love, that's attachment. And attachment will keep you stuck in places where your heart no longer belongs. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both of you is to let go. Let them find their own growth, their own healing, their own truth, just like you need to find yours. So don't let guilt keep you chained to what's breaking you. Don't let fear convince you that letting go means giving up. No, letting go means you've finally chosen yourself. You've chosen peace over pain. You've chosen growth over stagnation. You've chosen to believe that love isn't supposed to hurt this much. You can still love someone and know they're not meant to stay. You can still cherish what you had while understanding that your journey is calling you somewhere new. Because sometimes love doesn't end. It just changes shape. It becomes a quiet blessing, a lesson, a memory that still brings gratitude instead of grief. Letting go doesn't erase love. It just sets it free. It allows both hearts to breathe again, to grow again, to heal again. And that right there is what real love looks like. It's not always about holding tighter. Sometimes real love is knowing when to release and having the strength to say, that's okay. True love sometimes means knowing when to walk away, not when to hold on. We grow up believing that love is proven through endurance, that if you stay through every storm, you somehow win. But love isn't a competition, and it's not measured by how much pain you can tolerate. Sometimes love reaches a point where staying no longer serves growth, peace, or happiness. It's not that the love disappears, it's that the connection no longer aligns with who you are becoming. There are moments when the greatest act of love you can give someone and yourself is to let them go, even when your heart is begging you to stay. When you love someone deeply, walking away feels like betrayal. It feels like failure. You replay memories, promises, and all the good moments, trying to convince yourself that maybe if you hold on a little longer, things will change. But what we often forget is that love alone isn't enough to fix what's broken. Love doesn't erase incompatibility, disrespect, or the absence of peace. You can love someone with every piece of your soul and still realize that holding on is costing you your joy, your purpose, and your sense of self. True love requires honesty, not just with the other person, but with yourself. It takes strength to admit that love shouldn't hurt this much, that it shouldn't constantly leave you questioning your worth. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you've learned to care in a healthier way. You've realized that love isn't supposed to trap you. It's supposed to free you. When two people are meant to be, they grow together, not apart. But when love becomes one-sided, when one person is constantly pouring and the other keeps taking, the balance breaks. That's when walking away becomes an act of self-preservation, not selfishness. You begin to understand that you can't force someone to see your value. You can't teach them how to love you the way you deserve. All you can do is step back and allow the lesson to unfold on its own. There's a difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is when you stop trying because it's hard. Letting go is when you've given everything you can, And you finally recognize that staying will only break you more. It's an act of maturity and acceptance. It's understanding that sometimes love's purpose isn't to last forever, but to teach you something valuable about yourself, about boundaries, about what kind of energy you want in your life. And when that lesson is learned, the heart knows it's time to move forward, even if your mind still clings to what was. When you reach that place, walking away becomes an act of love itself. It's love for the person you were, who gave so much. It's love for the person you're becoming, who deserves peace. It's love for the truth that staying in pain doesn't make love stronger. It just keeps you stuck in a story that's already reached its final chapter. Letting go isn't losing. It's trusting that what's meant for you will stay. So many people fear letting go because they equate it with defeat, as if releasing someone or something means they failed. But real strength lies in having faith that life always brings you what aligns with your growth, even if it doesn't match what you wanted at the time. When you hold on too tightly, you start living in resistance. You fight what's naturally shifting away, and that fight drains your energy, your peace, and your spirit. Letting go, on the other hand, is a silent declaration that you trust the process, even when it doesn't make sense yet. There's power in surrendering to what life is showing you. Sometimes things fall apart not because they were meaningless, but because they served their purpose. Every person you meet, every relationship you experience, every connection you build, each one carries a lesson meant to shape you. And once that lesson is learned, trying to force it to last forever only creates pain. Trusting that what's meant for you will stay is about believing that the universe or God doesn't make mistakes. What's yours won't pass you by, and what passes you by was never yours to begin with. That truth may sting, but it's also freeing. When you learn to let go, you stop chasing closure from people who were never meant to understand your worth. You stop begging for attention, love, or validation from those who only gave it when it was convenient. You start realizing that your peace is more valuable than any temporary comfort someone brings. Letting go is not about erasing memories or pretending you don't care. It's about detaching from the outcome. It's about knowing that if something leaves your life, it's because something better is waiting to take its place. It's trusting that loss is often just redirection. Letting go requires faith. Faith that you will heal. Faith that life still has beauty waiting for you. Faith that pain won't last forever. When you let go with faith instead of fear, you create space for blessings to flow in. You make room for new experiences, new people, and new opportunities that align with who you're becoming. Holding on tightly to what's fading only delays that growth. You can't receive what's next if your hands are still clinging to what's gone. And sometimes letting go isn't even about people. It's about the old version of yourself, the one who accepted less, the one who tolerated pain, the one who doubted their own worth. Letting go is an act of evolution. It's saying goodbye to your past self and trusting that the new version of you will attract everything meant for your future. It's believing that real love, real peace, and real happiness never need to be forced. They'll stay, they'll grow, and they'll feel effortless because they belong in your life. The wrong person drains your peace while convincing you it's love. That's one of the hardest truths to accept, because when your heart is involved, your judgment gets clouded. You mistake intensity for connection, chaos for passion, inconsistency for mystery. The wrong person knows how to keep you emotionally hooked while giving you just enough to stay hopeful. They'll apologize just enough to keep you from leaving, but never change enough to make it better. You find yourself trying to prove your worth, walking on eggshells, constantly trying to fix what keeps breaking, believing that if you just love them harder, they'll finally see your value. But the truth is, real love doesn't drain you. It doesn't make you anxious or confused. It doesn't make you question yourself every day. When you're with the wrong person, you start losing pieces of yourself little by little. You silence your needs so you won't upset them. You ignore your intuition when it whispers that something isn't right. You justify their behavior because you've invested too much to walk away now. You start believing that this is what love is supposed to feel like: messy, unpredictable, and painful. But that's not love. That's attachment mixed with hope and fear. The wrong person will have you believing you're too sensitive, too demanding, or too emotional just so they can avoid accountability. They'll twist the narrative until you start doubting your own reality. And when you try to pull away, they'll suddenly show you just enough affection to pull you back in, keeping you stuck in a loop of highs and lows that feels like love, but is really emotional exhaustion. True love brings peace, not chaos. It nurtures your growth, not your insecurity. When you're with someone right for you, love feels like a calm certainty, not a constant battle. But when you're with the wrong one, you live in confusion. You wait for their moods to shift before you can feel okay. You measure your worth based on how they treat you that day. You become addicted to the temporary highs of affection because the lows are so deep. That cycle keeps you emotionally trapped, thinking you're experiencing passion when all you're feeling is instability. The hardest part is admitting that the person you love might be the one holding you back, that the relationship you've poured your energy into might be the reason you feel empty. Because when you care deeply, you want to believe they can change. You hold on to potential, not reality. You keep waiting for them to become the person you see in your heart. But the truth is, potential means nothing without action. And the longer you stay, the more you lose your energy, your spark, your confidence. The wrong person drains you not because they're evil, but because they aren't aligned with your peace. They can't give you the love you deserve because they haven't learned how to love themselves yet. And you can't heal someone who keeps reopening your wounds. Attachment keeps you stuck where your heart no longer belongs. It's one of the most powerful forces that can hold a person back because it disguises itself as love. You tell yourself you're staying because you care, because you still see something worth fighting for, but deep down you know it's not love keeping you there, it's fear. Fear of starting over, fear of loneliness, fear of losing what's familiar even if it's hurting you. Attachment convinces you that you can't live without them, that you'll never find another connection like this, that if you just wait a little longer, things might finally go back to how they used to be. But the truth is, what you're holding on to is not the person, it's the memory of who they were before things changed. Attachment keeps you revisiting old conversations, replaying moments, analyzing words that were said and unsaid. It feeds on hope and nostalgia, keeping you emotionally chained to something that no longer serves your growth. You tell yourself you're loyal, that you're patient, that real love takes time, but in reality, you're avoiding the truth that the connection has already ended emotionally. You're staying because walking away feels like erasing a part of yourself. The longer you hold on, the more you confuse comfort with connection. The relationship becomes a habit, not a choice. You start accepting less than you deserve just because you've grown used to it. That's what attachment does. It makes pain feel normal. It makes chaos feel familiar. It convinces you that leaving would hurt more than staying, even when staying is destroying your peace. Love grows, but attachment clings. Love allows freedom, but attachment fears it. When you truly love someone, you want what's best for them, even if that means it's not you. But attachment wants control. It wants to hold on tightly because it doesn't believe it can survive without that person. That's why people stay in relationships long after the love has faded. They've built their identity around the other person. They forget who they are without them. They forget that their happiness existed before that relationship ever did. It's not that they can't move on. It's that they've convinced themselves they shouldn't. Breaking free from attachment requires courage because it means stepping into the unknown. It means trusting that the love you once had doesn't need to be eternal to be meaningful. It means accepting that endings are not failures, they're redirections. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of staying stuck lasts much longer. When you finally release what's no longer aligned with your heart, you create space for new energy, new peace, new beginnings. You rediscover yourself outside of the relationship, and you realize that you were never afraid of losing them. You were afraid of losing the version of yourself that existed when you loved them. But once you face that fear, you understand that your heart deserves freedom, not captivity. Choosing to let go is choosing peace, growth, and self-respect. It's the moment you realize that your mental and emotional well-being are worth more than the comfort of familiarity. It's not about being cold or heartless. It's about recognizing that love should add to your life, not constantly take from it. When you make the decision to let go, you're not rejecting love. You're redefining it. You're saying that love without peace isn't love you're willing to carry anymore. You're choosing yourself in a world that taught you to always put others first, even at the cost of your own happiness. Letting go doesn't always come with anger or bitterness. Sometimes it's quiet, heavy, and deeply painful. You still care, you still remember, but you also understand that staying would mean betraying yourself. You start to see that holding on is only keeping you in the same emotional place while the rest of your life waits for you to move forward. Peace isn't something that just happens. It's something you choose every time you walk away from what doesn't align with your spirit. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It begins the moment you stop clinging to what you've outgrown. You can't evolve if you keep returning to the same people and patterns that hurt you. Choosing peace means realizing that not every battle deserves your energy. You don't have to prove your worth to someone who can't see it. You don't have to chase closure from someone who's already shown you who they are. You find peace when you stop trying to change what's already been revealed to you. When you let go, you give yourself permission to heal. You start sleeping better, thinking clearer, breathing easier. You stop walking on emotional eggshells, waiting for the next argument, the next disappointment, the next apology that never truly changes anything. Letting go also brings growth, and growth isn't always pretty. It's uncomfortable, lonely at times, and full of self-reflection. You'll have to face the parts of yourself that settled, that tolerated too much, that ignored red flags. But as you grow, you start to understand why the letting go was necessary. You see how holding on kept you from becoming who you were meant to be. You realize that growth often means choosing the harder path, the one that leads to healing instead of temporary comfort. And in that process, you discover self-respect. The kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that stands firm even when it hurts. You learn that walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It shows you that peace isn't found in fixing others. It's found in honoring yourself. You stop apologizing for choosing your sanity over chaos, your healing over history, your future over your past. That's when you begin to understand that letting go isn't losing someone. It's finding yourself again, piece by piece, in the quiet after the storm. Real love sometimes means releasing, not clinging, and that's okay. People often mistake love for possession, believing that if you truly care about someone, you must hold on no matter what. But real love isn't about control, it's about freedom. It's about giving both people the space to grow, even if that growth takes them in different directions. When love becomes something that confines you instead of liberating you, it's no longer serving its purpose. Holding on to someone who's no longer meant to stay can turn love into pain, and sometimes the most loving act is to set them free. When you truly love someone, their happiness matters to you, even if it doesn't include you. That's a hard truth to accept because our hearts want to believe that love should always lead to forever. But not all love stories are meant to last a lifetime. Some are meant to awaken parts of you, to teach you compassion, patience, and self-worth. Releasing someone doesn't mean you stopped loving them. It means you love them enough to let them follow their own path without guilt or resentment. It means you trust that what's meant for you won't need to be forced. Sometimes the reason you hold on so tightly isn't because the love is still alive, but because you fear what comes after it ends. You fear emptiness, silence, the unfamiliar feeling of being without them. But in that space after release, you rediscover yourself. You start hearing your own voice again. You begin to remember what peace feels like. You realize that love isn't meant to drain you or make you feel small. It's meant to elevate you. When you stop clinging, you create space for healing. You give yourself permission to breathe again. Letting go doesn't mean erasing memories or pretending they never mattered. It means accepting that the chapter is complete. You can still cherish what it taught you while moving forward. You can still smile at the moment,